paano nga ba ito naging isang Netflix animated series?
Tamang-tama yung tanong na yan, partner. Dahil mapalad tayong makasama sa araw na ito, ang una nating kakapanayamin. Siya ay founding partner at Chief Creative Development Officer ng Base Entertainment. Bago itinaguyod ang Base, 14 na taon siya sa New York at Los Angeles, kung saan nagtrabaho siya sa mga studio tulad ng New Line Cinema at The Walt Disney Company. Naging producer at executive siya ng Miller Go Inc., kung saan naging bahagi siya ng mga proyektong Smallville para sa TV at feature films tulad ng The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, Hannah Montana the Movie, at I Am Number 4. Naging consultant din siya ng Dino De Laurentiis Company sa Los Angeles at siya ang executive producer at writer ng Netflix original anime series na Trese. Bigyan po natin ng isang masigabong online palakpakan si Binibining Tanya Yuson.
Hello, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat sa pag-imbita niyo sa akin for today's forum.
Ayan, magandang hapon po at misteryosong hapon, Binibining Tanya. Muli po maraming salamat dahil pinaunlakan niyo po kami at ang aming organisasyon sa ating panayam at talakayan ngayong hapon.
Maraming salamat. I'm very happy to be here. Forgive me na lang po kasi my Filipino will lapse into mostly English because most of my meetings are in English today.
Okay lang po at hindi na po ako magpapatumpik-tumpik pa at agad na nating sisimulan ang panayam. Unang-una po sa lahat, paano po kayo dumating sa puntong napaisip kayong bumuo ng seryeng Trese?
Siguro mga noong 2009, I was home in Manila. I'd been working in Los Angeles and I was looking for material that we could turn into like myself to take on as a project to do features, feature films or series. And one of the books we had come across was Trese. Somebody had recommended that I look at it, have a read, and I was blown away. So it came to the point where I asked a friend to connect me to Budget, who had written the book. And luckily we had some mutual friends in common. And I just messaged him. I said, you know, you don't know me, pero I read your book. I think it's really good. I think it would make a good either series or a film at the time. And I was hoping to meet up. And he very graciously said, okay. And so from that, we started, you know, working together. I had my producing partner, 𝗁𝗵𝗆, who's from Indonesia. And you know, together we tried to set up Trese and eventually ended up with Netflix anime.
Ganun po pala yun, Miss Tanya. Minsan po talaga yung mga random na encounters na ganito, yung pinaka-nakukuha na natin ng mga napakagagandang idea. Kaugnay po nito, matagal na po ba kayong interesado sa comics po, halimbawa, sa comics po na ito?
Sa Trese mismo or for comics in general?
Siguro po simulan po natin sa comics in general. Yung mga naging paglapag po ng mga ganitong material, interest niyo na po ba ito nung simula pa lang po?
Oo naman, but I wouldn't call myself, I mean, there are, you know, people who are really hardcore comic fans and, you know, graphic novel fans, Budget being one of them, who know more than I do. But of course, I always appreciate them as an art form and as a form of storytelling. And as a producer, you know, it's one of the great sources to go for original voices or, you know, out of the box thinking for stories. And, you know, that's why comics, plus it's very visual. So kumbaga, parang storyboard na rin yan for, you know, the next medium of like film or TV.
Kaugnay naman po nung Trese mismo, matagal na panahon na rin po ba mula noong una niyong na-encounter yung comics? Nung na-discover niyo po yung comics, paano po yung naging proseso niyo po ng pagbuo ng story sa Netflix version po? Ano po yung naging journey after niyo po maisipan po na gawin siyang series?
Well, Iba yung pinag-isipan mo ng series, iba na rin yung pagsiset-up mo sa isang, platform katulad ng Netflix. So, for the time since 2009, pinag-iisipan namin kung paano mabubuo ang pinakamagandang story from the graphic novel. But then when we signed up with Netflix 2018, then it came to the more specifics of essentially, we had to work with 6 episodes that were half hours. So what was the best way to tell the stories for this season with the material that we had? And we had a lot of material. So it was just a matter of picking and choosing and structuring a story para maramdam natin na buo ang kwento. Hindi siya, kinukulang for at least a season. It's a satisfying ending for everybody.
Ganon po pala kabusisi at na-translate naman po talaga ang success nito, no, sa satisfaction na nakuha natin, no, ng mga fans, lalo na dito sa production na ito. Nais ko pong tanungin, nagkaroon po ba ng mga challenges nung binubuo po yung serye at ano-ano po yung mga particular na naging challenges nyo kaugnay ng pagbubuo nito?
For the most part, the whole team got along very well, I have to say, and that doesn't happen often. So it was really a joy to work on this, from the writing to, working with the actors, both the English cast and the Filipino cast. And, 𝗀𝗹𝗆, who is the director as well as his team of animators, and even the execs at Netflix. In a way, the process was quite harmonious. And I think the challenges happened more really in post-production when the pandemic started, because we were still doing post-production on Trese, and then we still had to do the Filipino dub. So when that challenge came on, luckily technology was already at the point where we could work remotely, and animation is one of the few forms where you can work remotely. And we were able to at least accomplish what we needed to do with the use of technology.
Ayun po, katulad din po ng nabanggit nyo na marami pong kinailangan isagawa. Nagkaroon po ba ng adjustments dahil po sa pandemya? May mga bagay po ba na hindi na natuloy dahil po sa pandemya, or meron pong mga inalter?
Wala naman. Things are pretty much according to plan. It was just the challenge of how to get it done during the pandemic. Pero natupad naman namin ang lahat ng kailangan namin gawin para i-deliver sa Netflix yung series.
Ayan, maraming salamat po. It was very interesting to know this thrilling adventure that Trese has been, from its translation mula sa comics patungong Netflix series. Ayan, simula pa lang po yan, pero ang dami pa nating matututunan tungkol sa journey ng Netflix, ng Trese sa Netflix mula kay Binibining Tanya. Ngayon naman tutungo tayo sa mga katanungan mula sa ating mga tagapanood.
Ayun po, meron po kaming katanungan na natanggap. Yung limitations daw po ba ng 6 episodes, planado po ba daw yun na 6 episodes lang po yung pwedeng gawin? Meron po bang consequences yung 6 episodes?
Siyempre, kasi kulang in terms of all the things you want to do. But, in a way, it's good kasi discipline rin yan in terms of figuring out how to tell the story in a very efficient way, a very concise way, but still having the emotional impact that you want, and a character arc that will work for 6 episodes. So of course, everyone wants more episodes, but that's what we were given, and that's what we had to work with.
Thank you, Miss Tanya. Given po yung limitasyon, kung tatawagin natin, na 6 episodes, given po yung pagtanggap, lalo na ng mga fans, ng mga Pilipino, at ng buong mundo na rin po na nakasilay nitong Trese, ano po ang future ng Trese na maibabahagi niyo po sa Netflix?
Wala pa namang balita. So mag-alay na tayong lahat, magdasal na tayong lahat for, hopefully more seasons or to come. So, the support, but we really appreciate the support. The Philippines has really shown up for, supporting Trese, in our country, and, getting the word out to people who haven't watched it, for friends and relatives abroad who haven't seen it. It's always appreciated and always welcome for helping people discover not just the series, but also the books. Mag-alay ng chok na. Sabi ni
Ako
Budget
po,
sa akin.
mag-aalay na po kami ng chok na tinulo.
Malakas ba sinunod sa Netflix? Okay rin yan, kung ganun.
Yun po, on a lighter note naman po, meron ding question na na-receive na, meron po ba kayong favorite character sa Trese na parang nakarelate po kayo?
Iba-iba rin in terms of nakaka-relate or you admire or gusto mong, mag-hang out, kipag-inuman with. Syempre, there's a lot of different kinds. In terms of relating, I guess, it would be someone like either Alexandra or 𝗀𝗵𝗆. Kasi, they had a job to do and they have to do it. So they just keep, despite everything happening around them, sobrang nakaka-relate dyan in terms of that character. But I do like 𝗪𝗪𝗪. I always say that 𝗪𝗪𝗪 is one of my favorite characters of the books and the series.
Ayan. Oh, given that po, Miss Tanya, will we, given the opportunity, if we will be blessed to have to see more Trese in Netflix in the future, nakikita niyo po ba ang return ni 𝗪𝗪𝗪? At sino pa po ang ibang mga characters na tinitingnan po nating maaring magbalik sa susunod po na Trese?
I mean, it could be anyone's guess. You guys can weigh in on who you want to see coming back in then, But of course, she has her, her allies with her, like the Kambal or Hank, right? So alam natin, kasama sila for the next season at least.
Ayun po, kaugnay naman po ng mga character, meron po bang naging mahirap characterize mula sa comics papunta po sa series? Sina 𝗪𝗪𝗪 po ba ganun din po siya sa comics or meron po mga inalter?
For the ones who read the comics, I think it's pretty close to how they are. There might be a few characters like, say, Nova Aurora that's a little bit different from the story in the comics because the story in and of itself was altered a bit to fit the medium. So, in fact, you'll notice for those who've read it, we kind of blend two stories into that one episode. And we do that for, not all the episodes, but several of the episodes, just so that we can incorporate the richness of the stories from the series, but at the same time, make sure that Alex has a good arc from the beginning to the end. And I think in terms of, it's not so much alteration, but fleshing out the character of Alexandra. Because we see every facet we have of her character, we mostly pull from the hints that Budget and Katja placed in the comic, in the stories. So we kind of know how she feels about stepping into her father's shoes as the Lakan ng sangkatauhan. We kind of know how she misses her mom and how she relates to the Kambal and to Hank. So we fill those in and we show the other dimensions of her, fleshing her out a little bit more because it's different from reading a character on a page and then you watch them walk, talk, interact with other characters on screen.
Given that, Miss Tanya, because we know that, well, for comic book fans in general po, no, they could be very passionate about how these
For sure.
these comic book characters are translated to films, to series. So, were there any fears or apprehensions, or is that very natural already? Is that already given when it comes to translating yung mga ganitong comics papunta sa mga serye at pelikula?
I mean, for me, as a fan myself, and I read books, it's the same way like, when Harry Potter was going to come out, right? Everyone has their own idea of how it should translate. Everyone has their own idea of a film. Working though as a producer, I get that and I respect it. And, no one is ever going to match the movie in your head. Kasi hindi naman kami, clairvoyant in that way, although I wish we were, but everyone will have a different version, diba? So we really respect that and we really understand that. If they're passionate about it, that's so great because that means they're invested. What we tried to do is try to keep with the spirit of the books and the work and the world that Katja and Budget created it and translated it to the best possible way we could for the series.
In terms naman po of catering to the international audience, meron po bang naging adjustments doon? Since 'di ba po yung English version po yung original, and meron po bang naging adjustments doon dahil yung mga kwentong bayan po 'di ba naririnig po natin dito sa iba't ibang bayan po sa Pilipinas. Ayun po.
Actually, that's a really good question because actually the thing we didn't explain it so much. Bahala na sila mag-Google, diba? Like, it's like looking at Japanese anime or K-dramas. You go in, you don't know what a pangmokjang is, then you just research it. So in our case, when we did the English language version, we made sure it made sense, like Nuno. We made sure it made sense in the context of the story. So alam nila source of information. But if they wanted to go deeper, ano ba talaga si Nuno? Where did he come from? It's, and then they research it's Nuno sa punso, right? Which gives it the deeper layer. But we make sure that it's accessible to an audience who didn't necessarily grow up hearing the stories every day, which by the way, might be Filipinos who, like first gen or second gen of immigrants abroad, who might have heard a little bit, but not a lot from their parents, or their parents might have been from a province that didn't have this particular version. So in a way, it's just enough for them to understand what it is in context of the story, but not spend so much time explaining, where they can just kind of go and research it, basically.
Yes, maraming salamat po, Miss Tanya. Like our former professor, who is currently the dean now of the College of Liberal Arts, would say that kapag related dito sa bansa natin, hindi dapat tayo nagkakaroon ng responsibilidad na ipaliwanag lahat sa mga taga-kanluran. Kaya lubos po naming na-appreciate din yung esensya ng pangingiliti sa isip ng mga manonood, in the sense na it's gonna pique their curiosity, but it's also gonna encourage them to learn more about it, to research about it, like just what you said in Japanese animations and all that. And it's really something that would spark the interest of people to know more about our folklore, yung mga kwentong bayan natin. And now I've been receiving a question. So ano po yung naging pinaka-exciting scene or bahagi ng production na pinagtrabahuan niyo po?
That's a hard question because it's basically all of it. Essentially, it's what's I say? It's just watching the whole process from the beginning to end, and watching people who are really at the top of their game, kind of in their A game. And you'll see that there are Filipinos, it's a Filipino-led creative, but even then we have suppliers and vendors who aren't Filipinos. But even from like post-production, in terms of recording, sound recording in LA, we had Filipino-Americans who were part of the team, who like I said, first or second gen kids of immigrants who, could see something that represented them and something that, had piqued their interest from the stories their parents had told them. And for me, that was, just the process of having them feel included, and and also seeing the response from Filipinos, in the Philippines, seeing ourselves on screen, seeing our stories and seeing our locations on screen as authentically as possible. That's been as exciting as watching the action scenes come to life, or working with really talented voice actors who really, who are really passionate about like figuring out the character and bringing them to life as well. So really the whole process, I guess, but there's just so many facets to it that were quite exciting.
Grabe po, parang listening to everything you explained, parang pati po ako na-excite po ako sa naging process nyo. Meron din po palang question na na-receive, but the question po is on a lighter note, na kung magiging mythical creature po kayo or bahagi ng isang kwentong bayan, ano daw po yung,
Wow!
ano daw po kayo? Babaylan po ba kayo? Or parang si 𝘁𝗶𝗃, ganun po?
Wow, I've never been asked that question. Parang the possibilities are endless. Parang kailangan ko yata pag-isipan yan. Syempre, syempre babaylan is always good, right? Traditionally a female, but then why not a tikbalang or a manananggal? Kasi iba rin yung powers eh. So, pag-isipan ko muna yan, but that's a really good question.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tanya. And more questions are coming in.
Oh
And
no, I
so-
think I might have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions before I go, unfortunately. And I'm so sorry, everyone, but this day is a little bit more packed than I expected.
But we really appreciate your time that you've allotted with us, Ms. Tanya. Thank you so much. So these questions are coming from, well, of course, the fans. So they're asking, what is the possibility or what do we have to do to push for more Trese spin-offs in terms of, like, for example, her rite of passage? That seems to be a very interesting possibility to look into. Like, what types of challenges did she go through? And since Basilio and Crispin are a fan favorites, what are the possibilities of them having their own spin-off series?
I mean, that one we can't tell. In terms of what you guys can do, I think it's really getting the word out, you know, keeping the flame alive, trying to expand who is watching, you know, Trese on Netflix. Like I said, like our market for sure, meaning the Philippines, internationally would be great because Filipinos and you guys especially are online. I've seen your TikToks, I've seen the thirst posts, I've seen them all. But there's a way where you can push it so new people are watching it.
Grabe guys, Miss Tanya sees everything.
Pwede
Ayun
nang
po,
babaylan.
Pwede na pong babaylan. For our final question po with you, ano po yung message nyo sa mga fans ng Trese?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much. Really, you guys have been driving the excitement. We wouldn't be here if not for you. And please know that everyone that's worked on this really appreciates all the love and support, and we really feel it. And we were even blown away by it when the responses first started coming out. And you know, basically, you are all now part of Team Trese as we try to push it forward, onwards and upwards. So we appreciate you, and you know, we hope for more. So mag-alay na kayo ng choknat kay Nuno, sabi nga ni Budge. But thanks so much for having me here, everyone. You're going to have a great time with Budget, Rudolph, and Carl. So I will leave you to them. They have many more stories and are, I'm sure, will fill the afternoon with lots of fun and laughter.